So this is the end of my game 3 versus El Gramboa in the SCG tournament last weekend. He's on Is It Phoenix. I'm playing my creativity combo deck, and the end of this game is really cool. And at the time, I was like really happy with how I played it. I thought I played really tight and won as a result. But it turns out when I watched it back, I actually made a big mistake. And I'm gonna go through it. I'm gonna commentate on my plays and explain why I made them, and then afterwards see if you can guess where my big mistake was, and I'll explain what it was. Uh, anyway, this is a really exciting finish to the game. Just to set the scene, what's happened so far is my opponent just cast Faceless Looting, discarded 2 lands, and played another land, and I played Prismari Command on their end step to make a treasure. And so now I'm about to untap, and I can try and win the game with my Indomitable Creativity by targeting my 2 tokens. So my first decision is whether to go for that or not. I draw a land for the turn. Their card could really be anything, even a land, although probably not. Probably most things other than counterspells they would have played, so they likely have a counterspell, I'd say. But I think it's still not going to get much better, so you should just go for it. Because even if they have the counterspell, which there it is, I think I'm still in an okay spot with the Magma Spray, and I've got lots of good draws in my deck, I think. I've got Shark Typhoons, I've got Narsets, and of course Creativity at any point in the game is going to be lethal if they don't draw another counterspell. So let's see what they got. Oh, wow, one of the best possible draws, Storming Entity. They get to scry 2, and they have a 2-turn clock now, and my Magma Spray can't kill that. And they top something. I think they would top any spell here, so I don't really know what it is, but it is a spell. So now I really need something good. I'm deciding whether to fetch or not. So normally you would not fetch here. And the reason is because Brainstorm is usually more important than deck sitting. But I'm looking through my grave here and realizing that I've already seen 2 of my Brainstorms. And Brainstorm is going to be a good draw anyway. So I think it doesn't matter that much. Whereas I've got a Shadow Skull Smashing on the bottom. So upgrading a Mountain to a Shadow Skull Smashing is, I think, more impactful than making my 2 Brainstorms stuff my deck a little bit better. Because it's still going to be a good draw if I get one to that. So let's see what I get. Narset, awesome. So that's one of the best cards other than Creativity, obviously. So I'm obviously going to play it. The big decision now is whether to minus it or not. It's a little complicated, but I think I should clearly minus it because I have so many good things I could hit. Any sort of removal for the Storming Entity would be really, really good. And I've got other cards too, like Shark Typhoon or Indomitable Creativity that would also be great. So I spent a long time thinking about this, whether to minus it or not. Another reason to minus it that I think of is if the top card of their deck is Shock, I just die if I don't minus, because they just shock my face and hit for 4. So I'm looking to their graveyard, looking for Shock. I see 2 Shocks. They only have 2 Shocks in their 75. So that means I don't need to worry about Shock, which is a reason to not minus it, but I still end up deciding to minus it anyway, because there's so many good hits. And wow, I hit 4 cards. So now I have to decide, the rope's going down, I have to decide which one of these cards to take. Mystical Dispute isn't really going to do it for me, but the other 3 are all pretty tempting. I think second Narset doesn't really do as much as the other 2. The other 2 let me kill the Storming Entity, whereas the Narset just sort of spins my wheels. So if I use the Shadow Skull Smashing, I have to use a treasure to kill the Storming Entity, unless I want to also use my Magma Spray. Whereas the Prismari Commander lets me use another mode. While I do have to use the Magma Spray, I get to have 3 treasures or something, or I can loot too. So I have to make the decision pretty fast. First I look at the Shadow Skull Smashing, but I end up deciding to take the Prismari command, which makes sense. And now I'm just deciding whether I want to loot with the Prismari command or make it a 3rd treasure. The 3rd treasure doesn't really matter much, but maybe I'll need the mana later. Whereas if I'm looting, I'm almost certainly discarding whatever I draw. Unless maybe if I hit Creativity on the loot, then I would keep that, but it's hard to say. So, okay, I go ahead and do this main phase before they can draw a counterspell and make the 3rd treasure. seems like I'm in a good spot now with the Narset, but bam, Arclight Phoenix at the top. I thought maybe they had a counter spell or any type of spell on top, but nope, best possible thing for them there. So my Narset said, now I'm dead in 2 turns. I top deck a land. Oh no, looking really bad. I don't play the land just because I could draw like Prismari Command and want to loot it away, or Brainstorm. So now I need one draw step. I'm in full control just to bluff for no reason. Bam, there it is, the win. I'm really excited. I just top deck lethal when I'm about to die. But I have to slow down because their card could be anything. And maybe they have a counter spell. Maybe they have a braid. They have 2 braids in their 75. I haven't seen them yet, but it's reasonable to bring them in. So yeah, I want to play around a braid on my token. I want to play around Mystical Dispute if I can. And I also am worried that if I like shock here, I could like die or something. But they only really have the 2 shocks to do direct damage to me, and I've seen the 2 shocks are gone already, so it's safe for me to shock this land here. So now I can't really play around something like Brazen Borrower because that can just hit one of the creatures afterwards. So I'm just trying to think about how I can play around everything, and the answer is I should target all 3, play around a braid, and I still have 3 mana left to pay for Dispute because I shocked my land in. And then I'll still have 2 treasures left, and that's all I need to win the game. So let's see what they have. It's Mystical Dispute. So perfect, I get rewarded for shocking my land, and now I win the game. So yeah, this is a real top deck war at the end here. I could have easily lost if I don't hit the creativity at the last possible moment. And now I just have to press the space bar a whole bunch, and then I win the game. Alright, so we can speed through this. I always go a little bit over, just to make sure I don't mess it up. Alright, so where did I make a mistake? It's actually, I thought it was pretty subtle. It's a play that I sometimes actually make and don't miss, but here the rope got to me and I missed the best possible line. That would have made it a lot less like scary at the end. So where is it? Alright. So with a Narset, I should minus, that's correct. I should take the Prismari command, that's correct. But what I do as a Prismari command is very wrong. So I'm thinking to myself that I want to like use it now to kill a Stormwind entity before they draw a counterspell, but I can actually do it in their upkeep. And the point of doing it in their upkeep is that I can actually use the second mode, target player draws 2 cards and discards 2 cards, targeting them. So with Narset in play, what that does is they just draw 1 card, discard 2, that's everything, and then they skip their draw step because they've already drawn a card for a turn and Narset won't let them. So yeah, I can kill the Stormwind entity and also cause them to skip their draw step and mill whatever they stride to the top. So then I would just be untapping with Narset in play and be in a very good spot. They still need to top deck, like, basically Arclight Phoenix somehow. So that play would have been much, much better.